All right, so I'll just quickly introduce you. By that time, people should be coming back as well. So, second session of our evening, well, day for whatever part you are, is Alex Powers. Alex Powers is going to diverge into an hour about Tabular Editor and why it's an amazing asset to anyone developing Power BI in their toolkit. You can do some seriously cool stuff with that, and Alex is definitely going to be showing us most of these things as well. There is a GitHub link that Alex posted inside of the chat window as well, and you can use that to follow along with us throughout the session if you've got a second screen. If you don't want to follow along, just sit back, relax, and prepare to get your mind blown. All right, Alex, good to go.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Man, you already set the stage for me. That's great. For today, I would love for you to follow along if you have the opportunity and you just want to get your hands on the keyboard to get the experience. If you've never used Tabular Editor, have fun. We will have pauses just kind of throughout, so I'll let you have that time to just decompress and think about what we just did and ask questions. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of stall here a little bit and let you download the content. So land on this page, Tabular Editor in an hour. If you click on this now, this will go through the entire section. The important parts here is to follow along. We want to go ahead and download and install Tabular Editor. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this link. This will take us over to the official GitHub page. And we'll see a lot of these new release notes, kind of any minor changes, but I need you to scroll down here at the very bottom. It's this important section right here. So it's going to be assets. And we want to look at the installer.msi or the portable.zip. So if you're having any issues with the MSI package, try the .zip. I've just had kind of people with different companies, just they weren't able to get it working with the MSI. That's just the Microsoft installer package. It's very clean, very neat. Otherwise, the zip is just going to be a standalone. So try one of the two. So just scroll down, find the assets, ignore all this, minor updates. Yes, it's great, but if this is your first time using it, I just want to actually have you download it for right now. We're going to also have this PBX file. So this is just download a local, just PBX. You'll need at least the July 2020 version of Power BI Desktop. So that is when the external tools was now introduced. So the first thing we're going to do then, I'm going to allow you that time to get that installed, get this one downloaded, and then I'll go and introduce myself. So just a little bit about me. My name is Alex Powers. I'm a Senior Intelligence Technical Specialist at Microsoft. So what does that mean? I just primarily concentrate on Power BI and then also our Azure Synapse integrations with Power BI. I am located in St. Louis, Missouri, so just the middle west here of the United States. And then professional background, I'm a traditional Excel guy, so I came from Power Pivot, Power Query. I just love that background, and then that led me into Power BI, just MCSA, MCSE. I just love kind of all the doors these technologies have opened up for me. But really one of the more exciting, professional achievements here is I am a co-organizer of the St. Louis Power BI user group. We've been up and running for 3 years, so I just love hanging out with the community. What's going on? What problems are you trying to solve? Just knowledge share. It's incredible. But just so you know, I'm not just an official Microsoft robot. Microsoft all the time. I do have personal interests. So I call this my trinity of interest with cats, professional wrestling, and data. So whether it's cat data, professional wrestling data, I just love it. More of a bipolar, kind of a polarizing topic here, though, is just, I enjoy putting pineapple on my pizza. I know you're probably thinking that I'm a monster. It's just who I am. Let me know in the comments, though. Maybe it's a thumbs up. Maybe it's a thumbs down. Maybe you're going to throw me a puke emoji. I just need to know that you're out there, that you're interacting with me. But let me know. Pineapple on your pizza, thumbs up or thumbs down. Yeah, so let me jump back over to the follow along page. Oh, I knew it. I knew we would have some haters in the audience here, Laura. Thank you for the emoji, though. Right here at the very top, Fernando, there's the download and open sales demo file. And then if you click that, it should just go ahead and start the download for you. Awesome. So hopefully I've stalled enough. Your internet bandwidth is caught up. You've downloaded the packages. Don't have to worry. And then let me go and close out of this PowerPoint now. Cool. Awesome. So let's go ahead and begin. This external tools in Power BI. July 2020 is at least the minimum that you're going to need. So if we click over into external tools, First thing I'm going to notice. I try and click, click, click. None of these are working. All right, so one thing we'll have to do is we'll need to go to our file, our options and settings, our options. And then within our preview features, there's going to be the store data sets using enhanced metadata format. I don't know why it keeps flickering like that, but if it gets too distracting, I'll zoom back out. So store data sets using enhanced metadata format. You're asking me, Alex, what is that? What is this all about, this new format? So with the XML, just the endpoints, read-write capabilities now, they have just kind of decoupled this from the Power Query experience. So going forward, whenever this goes into general availability, there will only be one format. So for right now, if you're saying, Alex, I don't really like using a lot of preview features, I'm not comfortable with it, I completely understand. Enable it for the session. If at the very end you're saying, all right, I tested, I see where this is kind of going, I'm just not comfortable with keeping that on, I completely understand. Just as a Power Query guy, it caused me a lot of headaches at the beginning. It does seem to have been improved, but to kind of throw this out here for you, so the aka PVI release wave, back up everything. All right, so the Power BI release wave, if you've not used this report, I just threw this together here for the community so you can enjoy my little emoji guy down here. XMLA, read write, it's going into general availability this month. So if you're kind of curious about this new enhanced metadata format, you can anticipate whenever this feature goes general availability, sometime in September, that this will be the only format going forward. So for right now, it's a preview feature. Whenever this has been enabled, this will be the only format. So just kind of letting you know, this is kind of where we're going. But definitely kind of jump out here every once in a while. Just I feel like we're just always throwing hyperlinks and just different resources at you. Take it 1 month at a time. That's how I kind of approach Power BI and the releases. Just what's coming out in September. All right, I now kind of know. Maybe looking at the next month. Here's October. Just taking it 1 month at a time, but an awesome resource. Hopefully you just kind of leverage it within your own internal organizations or user groups. Cool. So I'm closing out of that, and let's go ahead and jump in now. So we need to enable this store data sets using the enhanced format, which we're going to do now. Press OK. Power BI is going to tell us, hey, just restart, and I can get this up and running for you. That's fine. So I'm going to close out of this. Go and open back up our Power BI, and we'll see if we have the buttons now enabled. Then I'll ask a question for those in the audience who are following along. Are you at least on the July desktop version? Please let me know. Cool. All right, so external tools, I now see them lit up, just dark and bold. Awesome. So if we press Tabular Editor now, it's giving us a nice little prompt here. So editing a Power BI desktop model that does not use the enhanced metadata format is not allowed. All right, well, that's fine. We just enabled that. So we're good there. Press OK. And then I want to go ahead and set up Tabular Editor here. So within my file, my preferences, I see these two features here. So allow unsupported Power BI features. So if I hover above this, checking this will allow you to edit a TOM objects and properties. All right, so kind of editing a TOM. What's this other one here? So detect changes, allow you to automatically update the tabular object model loaded in Tabular Editor. So what is it? Whenever changes are made, connected to the model. All right, so one is allowing us to edit, and then the other one is allowing us to read. So let's go and enable both of these now, just kind of within this experimental. Press OK. I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. And then I'm going to open up that sales demo file that I just downloaded. So we've got our Power BI desktop set up. Awesome. Thank you, Daniel, for calling that out. We have a fantastic just helper here in the audience today. This is the actual creator of Tabular Editor, Daniel. So if you have any questions, I mean, he's more than happy to kind of help there. And then we'll dive into some of those during some of the planned pauses as well. All right, cool. So we now have our model open, Tabular Editor. We've enabled all of our settings. We're going to start talking about the TOM. So the Tabular Object Model Hierarchy. I saw Tabular Editor referencing this, so we can start thinking of it here, kind of like our server, which is maybe like Power BI service, our database, kind of like the workspaces, our models. Those are actual data sets. Then data sources, so thinking like a Power Query or a Get Data Experience. Tables, so yes, I see here on the right, we have various tables which have columns, they have measures, they have hierarchies. So all these things that we're familiar with. Also relationships, roles, it's like role level security, just having those kind of within our model here. So let's actually extract some of the underlying metadata from our model. Here now, just within our external tools, we're going to click on the Tabular Editor. It's going to tell us, hey, you're using the experimental features. Keep a backup of your PBX file. I would agree. So just go ahead and keep that backup. So this way, if you do have any issues, you know, your production model is not lost. Just have this here for kind of the dev portions of it. We're going to go to File. We're going to go to just save to a folder. So if you'd like on your local machine, create a folder. I'm going to call mine just my sales demo. Save that here now. And if I jump out here, I can see the TOM, right? So I can see my tables. I can see roles, relationships. If I was to click into tables, I see my tables here on the right. So calendar, customer transactions, yes. Let me click into maybe customers. All right, so just a JSON file. So I extracted the metadata from my model. It's not the actual data itself, so it's not, you know, just export everything. It's just the underlying metadata. So our column names, maybe the annotations, so any additional properties. And then let's do kind of one more. This is probably the most important file of them all. So within File, we're going to do a Save As. It's just step number 4. We're going to save this model.bim. So this is the BIM stands for Business Intelligence Model. So we're going to go and do a save. Yes, that's fine to replace it. And I'm going to jump back here to Sales Demo, and I'm just going to go ahead and right click and just view this in any kind of text editor here. So I'm going to use VS Code. Awesome. Let's go and take a look here. So I've got my compatibility level of 1520. I see it's a Power BI v3 kind of data source. All right, tables. All right, so things are starting to look a little familiar here now. I've got my orders table. I got my columns within that table, so order ID. All right, all right. What else did we have? We had relationships. So let's look for that. Relationships, yes. So from my orders table to my customers table right here. Kind of the from column to my to column. And then maybe what else do we have? Roles. Cool. So role level security, I have a role in my model that's Florida sales rep, just based on the state or province that is equal to Florida. Interesting. So, I mean, it's just a big JSON body here of Power BI. I suppose I could probably just copy this, maybe add another one here if I really wanted to. Just a lot of accuracy, though, that would be needed to kind of pull this off. So clicking over to Tabular Editor now. So why is Tabular Editor so great? It allows us a graphical user interface to go ahead and read the underlying JSON body structure. So if I was to think about our tables here again, expand this out, I can see my orders, I can see my customers, employees, etc. My roles, expand this out, that Florida sales rep we were just talking about, expand this once again, and I can see that state province is equal to Florida. You zoom back out here. So Power BI sits on top of a analysis services database, which has this underlying tabular object model structure that's just stored in a JSON body. I know for a lot of people who maybe are not familiar with kind of this whole analysis services background, I'll just pause here your thoughts, knowing that Power BI is just this massive JSON body of all of this metadata. Let me know in the comments just before I continue, because we're going to continue to build upon this. All right, I'll take silence is golden then. Everyone knows about the TOM, the complete structure of the JSON body, so awesome. Let's talk about the actual model though. Alex, this model is just unusable. Just riddled with errors. What are you talking about unusable? The table names, I mean, they look great. I see a lot of good spacing here in terms of names, calendar, customer transactions. It's just from a UI, UX, user experience perspective, man, this is easy to use, easy to read. That's not the case, Alex. I had my experts, they looked over your model, they just found tons of errors. What are you talking about, these experts? I just downloaded this file 2 minutes ago from the very top of this page. It's a clean download. So 20 years of analysis services history. Taking all of that knowledge kind of over time, so multidimensional, now tabular, combining all of these experts and just to a best practice analyzer at a point and click of a button. So here, optional and guided kind of walkthrough here, navigate to the repository. Nice pro tip is if you hold Control and press click, it'll open in a new tab. Out on the Tabular Editor GitHub, you'll see the best practice rules. All this rich 20-year history and these experts and all the lessons that they've learned over time has now been condensed into this best practice. If you have any that you have built yourself, you can come out here and contribute your own, submit them just through the issues. But for right now, we're going to concentrate on the Bpa Rules -standard period JSON. So if I select this now, I can see kind of all these rules that have been condensed. But really the important button that we want to concentrate on is this raw. So if I click on raw now, I can see the raw JSON. And I just want to copy this URL here in the address bar. If you want to just cheat, just feel free to copy this one right here. But I just wanted to make sure that you saw that raw button, that would be a requirement. So back in Tabular Editor, we talked about this rich history. We're going to go to Tools now, and we're going to select Manage Bpa Rules. And then I'm going to add here within my rules collection. Now I'm going to include a rule file from a URL. So this last option. I'm going to press OK. I'm going to paste this period JSON body address. So it's not to the GitHub, it's to the actual raw underlying JSON. Press OK. From here, if I was to click on this, I can see all of these rules have now been imported into my model. And I want to check just one thing for myself here, so let me delete this. I would agree the best practice analyzer is worth its weight in gold. So let's go ahead and press OK. So I talked about all these experts, all their knowledge, just looking at my model. If I go to Tools, if you're a keyboard fan, just F10 is that shortcut. But I'm going to press Best Practice Analyzer, and I can see here now 190 objects in violation of 13 best practice rules. All right, so what do we have here? So I see column references should be fully qualified. Don't use floating point data types. I would agree. If you're kind of out in the 15 or 16 decimal places, let's scale it back. Don't summarize numeric columns. This one actually seems like a pretty good one. So hide foreign key columns. So if I was to hover above this now, columns used on the many-sided relationship should be hidden, as related dimension table is the best place to apply a filter context. I would agree. That seems like a great rule. We should hide kind of our relationships here just on the many side. So with this, I'm going to click on just my script button. It's right here, generate fixed script. Click back over here. I'm going to click on this generate fixed script. Now been copied to my clipboard. I'm going to press OK. I'm going to jump over now to advanced scripting within Tabular Editor. Paste that, just Control V if you'd like. Stretch this out a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and zoom in here. See if we can't read this. So what's it trying to tell me? What is it trying to do? Model.tables, my orders, dot columns, customer ID. So data column is hidden equals true. All right. So salesperson ID is hidden equals true. Order date is hidden equals true. All right. So I'm starting to understand what it's saying. It's saying that it's going to set, I guess, a hidden property to true for this column. And I guess this column and just kind of top to bottom. So let's try this now. So I'm going to expand out my orders table just here on the right. I'm going to run this script, just my green run script button. Uh-oh. What is going on here? There we go. Must have just selected a certain portion. So customer ID, now I can see it's light gray. Salesperson ID, light gray. Order ID still visible. You can see the kind of the standard, just black. Jump over to my model now. I'm going to snap this to my left. Snap Tabular Editor to my right. So if I look at my orders table, hold on. So order ID, yes. Customer ID is still visible. Salesperson ID is still visible. All right, so it's just not syncing up. So something that we'll need to do is actually save these changes now back to our model. So here at the very top, save the changes to the connected database, which is my Power BI. Or if you're a keyboard fan, Control S. So I'm going to press this button now. Instantly, we can see those columns have now been hidden. So we're able to hide 11 different columns here just in the click of a button. That's pretty cool. All right, so Tabular Editor allows me to edit changes, so make changes to the underlying JSON body. What if I make a change, though, in Power BI Desktop? Maybe try it the other way around here. So I'm going to just right-click, let's say unhide all. Working on it. Boom. Customer ID, salesperson ID, now just kind of back in black. That hidden property is now just set to false. All right, so that's pretty cool. So I'm able to both edit in Tabular Editor, save those changes back down, or if I have any changes in Power BI Desktop, Tabular Editor is able to go in and interpret those, kind of back up. Jumping back to our best practice analyzer here, though, let's go ahead and take a look. So hide foreign key columns. I've seen the script, I've read it, you know, I understand it's pretty low impact, like I'm not really too worried about its effects on my overall model. Maybe instead of actually seeing the script, you know, I've clicked this button 100 times, maybe I just want to apply that fix. So here at the very top, I'm going to do apply fix. We'll notice our columns here now grayed out, and then that final step, go ahead and do that save changes. So the more comfortable you get with those rules, just press apply fix. For right now, if you just want to read the code, understand what's going on, just copy the script out. Maybe there was a few columns that you didn't want to hide. You can just manually kind of delete those here on your own. But just a great way for you to take this expert knowledge and just applying it now to your model. But I understand it's not always about the experts. Sometimes it's also about our internal organization. What are our own rules that should be applied to the model? So here, going back to our tools, manage Bpa rules. I'm going to select on rules on the local machine. I'm going to do a new rule. We're going to scroll down here to creating a new rule within our best practice analyzer. And let me find that rule window. Oh, where is it? Always likes to hide back there. There we go. So in this rule, I'm going to say, let's go ahead and disable auto time intelligence. It's creating an ID here for me. My severity, it's going to be pretty low. You know, it's not going to affect my model. Just kind of creating a little bit of bloat for me. But I'm going to go ahead and say that this is related to performance. My description, I'm going to avoid just reading this full narrative to you. And then, of course, it's hidden again. Let me just snap this to the right. There we go. Paste that here. Closer. Doing the dance. All right, so our rule expression. So thinking about my TOM now, my tabular object model. So for any tables that I maybe have, so tables.any, if one of those tables has a name that starts with, just open parenthesis here, local date table, so that's just a signed kind of a underline or underscore here, and then they come up that crazy goat at the very end. Close parenthesis or close double quotes, close parentheses, my rule expression. So if I have any tables that start with a local date table, go ahead and find those. And then in terms of the minimum compatibility level, 1200, 1400, 1470, we remember that Power BI is at the 1520 level. So I'm more than fine with just leaving it here as the 1200. Press OK. I now have a rule that is built into my own custom organizational rule where we say, hey, no auto time intelligence, get rid of it. Press OK. Review our rules now. So tools, best practice analyzer, disable auto time intelligence just at the very top. If I hover above it, navigate to the Power BI desktop's current file properties and disable the settings for auto date time in the data load. All right, so let's try this. Unfortunately, we can't delete these tables outright over here. It's just, for whatever reason, just not exposed kind of within the Power BI file. So if I go to sales demo now, go to our file, options and settings, options, current file data load, disable this auto date time, press OK. See these local date tables. Changes have been made to your model outside of Tabular Editor. Do you want to update the model metadata in Tabular Editor? Yes, of course. Keep these two in sync. So press yes. Local date table is now removed. Fortunately, like I said, it's just not something we can do automatically just because that little checkbox, that's not something that is exposed within the TOM. So love to see them come up with some type of fix for that, but at least for right now, if you've never disabled that before, for any new files going forward, you can also set this at the global level. So global data load, auto date time for new files, just disable it, get rid of that bloat, and then just always have your own kind of a date or calendar table that you're bringing in. Cool. All right, so let me pause there. Just your thoughts. Let me know. You can come off mute. You can drop them in the chat. Just having an expert just a point and click away within kind of the best practice analyzer, I think is pretty awesome. I'm sure a lot of you maybe after today will just be pointing at your own model and saying, well, how close was I to kind of perfection? And at the very beginning, the model worked. It wasn't like I wasn't able to visualize data, that I wasn't able to, you know, answer my business objective. For me, I always say, as long as it works, you know, that's great. We can always improve upon it. So I think that's just where best practice analyzer comes in, and it's fantastic. I would recommend just coming out here if you have a great idea that you would like to start incorporating just for the community. Come out to issues. Way to install Tabular Editor without admin rights. I've had people use the .zip file of the installer. They've had success with that. I will point out here, just kind of dip back over. And the reason why I'm so passionate about it, or at least right now, it's digitally signed. So this is a trusted install in terms of Microsoft. So if you're trying to champion this for your internal organization, let them know. You know, Tabular Editor is digitally signed, DAX Studio is digitally signed. Kind of accompanying materials within the help, external tools ribbon up here. We've got the official documentation, the big three that we're spotlighting: Tabular Editor, DAX Studio, and ALM Toolkit. Just whatever knowledge you need, let us know. We can help empower you there, but digitally signed, trusted, it just has to be downloaded kind of from the GitHub repository. It's right here. Hopefully that helps maybe answer the question. If you're not able to get it today, but you think it's important to maybe champion for your organization. But at the very least, try the .zip file as well. I've just had some people have success with that whenever the environment was maybe locked down for admin rights. Cool. And then just out here, if you have ideas, submit them. I submitted disable auto time intelligence, so I'd love to just see that naturally built into that JSON file, because remember, we just pointed out to the file, and just as this thing gets updated or changes, we're just going to inherit those new rules. Awesome. All right, so let me jump out of this. Love hearing the feedback here, just for Best Practice Analyzer. I think it's a fantastic addition. But with this, let's talk about just rapid development. So advanced scripting within Tabular Editor. Just right off the bat, important notes. Fan of keyboard shortcuts, Control Z or Control Y to undo or redo. Those still are applicable within the application. And then the other one, this is a C# scripting language. So I'll kind of pause there. So it's C#. I'll be fully transparent. I don't know anything about C#. But what I do know is I have a problem and I need to solve it. So we're going to start approaching this. We're just going to break down the problems just as we see them here. So right now I'm just going to get rid of this advanced scripting, Control A, delete it. And let's start breaking this down then. So within the advanced scripting tab, I'm going to do this selected.table.measure. So I'm going to do selected, period. Awesome. We have some IntelliSense. Tables. So I'm thinking about my Tom now, right? So I've got tables. And then I want to add maybe a measure. So add measure. So adds a new measure. And what was the name, expression, display folder? So those will be the three arguments that I need to satisfy. So my first was my name. I'm going to call this my total count of double quotes. My concatenator in C# is going to be a plus symbol. And I'm going to say selected, period, table, period, name, comma. Thinking about my arguments, my next is my expression, so my DAX expression. I'm going to use count rows. Just noticing no IntelliSense here within the advanced scripting. Single quote, just as a good practice, if I have a table that maybe has a space in it, like customer transactions, I just want to wrap that with kind of the single quote here. So count rows, double quotes, concatenator again with the plus symbol, selected, period, table, period, name. All right, I remember writing that before. Just scroll back out. Double quotes, single, close parenthesis, double quotes, comma, whew. And then that third argument here is our display folder. So I'm just gonna, it's optional. I'm gonna go ahead and place mine in just a measurements folder. Close this out here with the closed parentheses. So I've got my three arguments satisfied, semicolon here at the very end, just as a good practice. And then I'm going to select my orders table. So select orders, run script, measurements, total count of orders. I can see down here my expression count rows. So let me go ahead and zoom in here. So I've got my properties. So my display folder is measurements. My name is total count of orders because I select the orders table. Yes, I remember that. Then my expression was count rows from the orders table. All right, that's pretty cool. So breaking this down again, like I said, I don't know a lot about C# or this new scripting language. So what did I just do? First argument was my name. Second argument was my DAX expression. Third argument was my display folder. I see that here once again. So display folder, name, expression. Save these changes now back to our model. So I'm in my orders table. I want to go ahead and save this. So Control S if you're the hotkey fan. or press the button, Control S, instantly saved, wrote this measure back to Power BI. All right. So let's try another. Let's improve upon this now. So I'm all about the muscle memory. So I'm just do Control Z. I'm going to get rid of this current measure. Delete all this script. I just want to get my hands on the keyboard again. I want to think about what knowledge do I have right now and how can I apply that maybe to Tabular Editor. So I remember I have variables in DAX. So I'm going to actually create a variable then in C#. So I'm going to just do var. I'm going to use table name. I could call it pineapple if I wanted it. It's just not kind of a name sensitive here. So table name equals my selected period table, and then my name property. So I want to get the name property from my selected table. I'm going to do a selected dot table again. Add measure. My 3 arguments. First one, total count of, double quotes, concatenator. I'm going to point to my variable this time. So I'm going to do table name, comma. Count rows again, open parenthesis, the single quote, double quote, just if you had a space, concatenator of the plus, table name, plus, double quote, single quote, close parenthesis, double quotes, comma. In my optional argument here, just at the very end for my third, it's going to be my folder, so I'm going to say measurements, close parentheses, semicolon, just that good practice to have just after kind of every close statement. So I'm going to select orders again. I'm going to run this time. Cool. Measurements. Total count of orders. Awesome. So I'm able to use variables, kind of clean up this code now. So selected.table.name, I can reference my variables. Awesome. I love this. Let's try it over maybe multiple tables then. So I'm going to get rid of this orders. I'm going to select my customers and my employees table. So my customers, employees. I'm going to run this code now. What's it tell me? So the selection contains more than one object of type table. So the selection contains more than one object of type table. So yes, I tried to select both customers and employees, just wasn't able to go through. Yeah, so great question here from the chat. If you don't mind, I'm going to answer that maybe at our pause, just so we can kind of adhere to the time here. But I love that question. I'm gonna kind of dive into that one. And anyone else, feel free to jump in. All right, so just not able to leverage this code, kind of here just with multiple tables. I tried to select, so I'm going to delete this again. I'm just all about building the muscle memory. I'm going to click on samples now, tutorials. I'm going to loop through all selected tables. I'm going to get rid of this green comment. I don't need it for right now. Get out of here. So I don't know C#, but I'm just learning to kind of dissect this code. So for each, all right, so we're doing some type of looping now. So for each selected table, go ahead and store that in a variable that's called table. All right, so for each selected table, store that in a variable called table. All right, that's pretty straightforward here now. Let's scroll down. We're going to put our hands back on the keyboard. I'm going to say var table name. It's not sensitive. Call it whatever you want. I have my variable now, just here at the very top that's defined, and I want to get that name property. Semicolon, my table, I want to add a measure. And I'm trying to remember, what were the 3 arguments that I need to satisfy for add measure? Can someone help me out in the chat? What were the 3 arguments we needed to satisfy for add measure? Just trying to remember off the top of my head. All right, so name, Fernando's got the first one here. So let's do total count of, quotes, table name, comma. Calculation, thank you, Cindy. Yes, so our expression, we're going to do count rows. single quote, just if we have a table with a space, concatenator of our plus, table name, pointing back up to my variable, plus, double quotes, single quote, close parenthesis, double quotes, comma, and then my third argument here, I think Fernando got it right, which is just our display folder. So measurements, closed parentheses, semicolon, semicolon here just at the very end. So you've got for each. I'm going to go ahead and expand these out, just left or right on your keyboard. Just right will expand, left will collapse. So I'm going to expand out customers. I'm going to go down to employees, expand this out. I'm going to hold control, just select them both now. Run my script. Cool. So let me get this here. Measurements, total count of customers, because I selected the customers table. Total count of employees, because I selected the employees table. I wrote 2 different measures. I can go ahead and save these now back to my model, just doing the Control S. Look at my employees table. Look at my customers table. Awesome. So I was able to deploy just 2 measures now, kind of in the click of a button. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Be honest with you, I probably won't be doing a lot of table kind of level measurements. It's more than likely going to be a lot of column based. Let me go ahead and do a Control Z. Get rid of these. You know me. I want to get my hands on the keyboard just more and more and more. I'm starting to learn this language. So I'm going to delete all this code. I'm going to start again. Samples, tutorials. Let's do a loop through all selected columns. So for each selected column, store into a variable that's called column. All right, all right. Column, period, the table that it's stored in. Well, there's some great optional guided videos here. Just it's a column.table.add measure. Our first argument here, I think we remember, was our name. So we'll do sum of. Here will be our plus. We'll do column period name, comma. Second argument is going to be our expression. So it's going to be our sum, open parenthesis, double quotes. Our concatenator now is going to be column, period, DAX object, full name. So what does this mean? So let me go ahead and zoom in here. So the DAX object full name property provides the fully qualified name of the column using the DAX expression. So it's going to be both the table name and the column name. All right, so that's pretty good then. Just in the event we had 2 columns that maybe shared the same name in our model, maybe it was like a relationship based. This way we can be very explicit with having the table. Or concatenator here at the very end, double quotes, close parenthesis, double quote, comma. Then we do our measurements here at the very end. Close parenthesis, semicolon, one more semicolon. And then we want to go ahead and select now our quantity, unit price, and pick quantity from our sales order lines table. So let's do quantity. Let's do unit price and pick quantity. And just hold control, select multiple columns now. F5 if you're the keyboard fan, or just press the green button. Measurements folder. We have sum of quantity, sum of unit price, and then sum of pick quantity. Just instantly able to deploy 3 different measures here within our model. And then Fernando did have a question, just do these measures have any impact on the model's performance? They do not. It's just DAX that it's writing. So it's a standard sum, kind of a sum function. So sum sales order lines of quantity, kind of the next one, unit price or pick quantity. So all we're doing is using C# to just go ahead and write DAX, kind of in this example, or if you wanted to make actual changes to your model. So kind of thinking about our time, we would be able to do that here just through a scripting method as well. Hopefully that answers the question for you. Oh, count rows. I mean, count rows is fine. If you're looking at that as opposed to just doing like a values-based count, like a count of a single column. Count rows, I mean, it doesn't actually have to materialize anything, so it's just counting the number. All right, so let's look at this. We've got our measurements in the folder. I want to do a few more though now. I'm starting to see the power of this full scripting. So I'm going to do a Control-Z, undo our measures. I want to add to this. So I've got my sum of, let me maybe add an average of. So get my hands back on the keyboard. I'm going to do column, period, table, period, add measure. Remember my arguments now. So the first one was my name. So I'm going to do an average of. What's concatenator is my plus. I'm going to do column, period, name, comma. All right, that feels familiar. Average, double quotes, column, period, DAX, object, full name. All right, so I'm noticing a pattern here. I wrote these twice. Maybe something better would be just storing these in variables. So I love now you're starting to look at the code and you're saying, Alex, I think we could improve upon this. This is awesome. So you started from not even knowing about C# to now saying, hey, I think we could have done this better. So maybe a challenge out to you would just be update the above to include variables. But for right now, I'm just going to stick to the script. So I'm going to do a concatenator, double quotes, close parenthesis, double quotes again, comma. Our measurements here, just that optional folder that we're going to store them in. Semicolon here, just after the close parenthesis. We just select our columns again. So we're going to select quantity, unit price, and pick quantity. Quantity, unit price, pick quantity. Let's go ahead and run. Let's go ahead and run. What is it yelling at me about? What did I miss? Oh, concatenator right here. Live coding, green, measurements, sum of quantity, average of quantity, sum of unit price, average of unit price. So just able to deploy 6 different measures here in the click of a button. Click on save. Jump back over here now to our sales order lines table. I see my measurements folder, able to instantly deploy these 6 different measures. So especially as you're thinking about just Power BI desktop development, every time we click on a new measure over here, it's just that slow, sluggish process of just saying, all right, I'm going to go ahead and refresh the underlying metadata. I'm going to update just and determine if there's any changes. It's just extremely slow, kind of measure by measure. So you can see the power here now, kind of within Tabular Editor. Just being able to deploy, 6 different measures in this example instantly to your model. But for me, it's not about just these simple things. It's the excitement of our community. So I'm going to scroll down here, just the very bottom of our page. So thinking about script snippets now. It's like useful code that someone else has already written. I'm going to scroll down, kind of looking at this section now. So thinking about time intelligence measures. I'm just going to copy and paste this, delete all of this here at the very top now. I've got a variable that it's asking me to satisfy. His example, he calls it a dates. Mine, I just called it a calendar. So I'm actually going to update this. Instead of pointing at a date table name, I'm going to point it to my calendar table. If I select all of these now and press run, look at that. Copied and pasted somebody else's code, instantly deployed 36 different measures. This is incredible. So just all of these possibilities that are now opened up here, just community-based scripting. Someone else has already written this. You're able to just come out here and copy and paste and leverage it now within your models. If you have a long weekend and you're bored, a challenge, if I don't get to it before you, daxpatterns.com, just version 2 now released. Come out here, look at some of these patterns that were released, maybe translate these into just advanced scripting, just as a good practice for you. If you complete those, come out to the repository here, community scripts. basic or intermediate scripts that people are now starting to submit. So whether it be time intelligence patterns, maybe it's a kind of moving average targets, whatever it may be, they're starting to submit these now. So let's go ahead and kind of scroll back here. So I'll pause. Any thoughts on kind of the scripting? And I'll answer some of the questions, but hopefully you're excited. You're just starting to see some of the potential here, just being able to instantly deploy just, hundreds of measures, just the click of a button. I mean, it's incredible. So let me jump back up here. Laura had an awesome one here. So what level of C# do we need to know to use Tabular Editor effectively? Obviously the basics, but to what level if we don't know the language at all? I will say that I 100% do not know C#. So my experience has purely been, what do I know in Power BI and what is the minimum level of effort that I need to kind of break these things down in. In this example, add measure, what are the arguments I need to solve? So no different than thinking about it from maybe like an Excel based, here are the arguments I need to solve from a kind of a formula perspective. From other sessions that people have done, the greatest feedback I heard was, hey, this kind of feels like VBA. So if you have any experience within Visual Basic for applications, kind of from the Office 365, I think that is completely transferable and you'll be up and running in no time. And a lot of this is just more kind of, Daniel does a fantastic job of just documenting the functions that he builds. So, I mean, he's building a lot of these and he makes them easy to use kind of for everyone. But hopefully, just start small. Just maybe it's adding measures, maybe it's then changing. Just over time, I think you'll build up that muscle. All right. Yes, Benny's comment here just around Daniel just making changes. I think I updated Tabular Editor this morning, and then right before this session, it said that there was another update. So he's just going insane right now. One of the callouts that I did have was just that kind of the DAX expressions over here. Just unfortunately no IntelliSense right now. That is something that he is targeting for a major release. Just right now he's kind of working through all the minor releases. Just because this is new and he's probably got hundreds of thousands of eyes now looking at his product. Where previously in the past, maybe it was just more of the analysis services people. Now it's just opened up to everyone, kind of within the Power BI developer. All right, what else do we have? Yeah, you can add translations. Is this the solution to a multi-language data set? Yeah, so Peter's question around, this is a great resource for doing translations. I think for right now, Microsoft themselves is spotlighting that in order to do perspectives, which is supported within Power BI datasets, you have to use Tabular Editor or some type of other editing script-based. It's just nothing that's natively built in Power BI Desktop at this moment. Something they're working towards, but just for right now, translations, perspectives, things of that nature, kind of Tabular Editor will be your best bet. Yeah, so Fernando had a great question here. Who curates the scriptings that are being delivered or submitted? Yep, so Daniel is kind of, he works on a lot of that, which here at the very top, he's continuously updating. He's also working on the issues pages. He's doing a pretty good job. I would say right now he's probably got his list of things that he's trying to concentrate on, but I do see things are continuously being added all over the place. But if you think about the scripts, the best practices, the actual code base, all these different things, I'm sure it's a lot. So maybe he'd open that up to contributors if you're ever interested. Just helping him kind of review that. I take store data sets. Anything I'm missing? I did not manage to add external tools in my ribbon. Robert, we may have to take a look at that one. Just restarting Power BI desktop, yes, and you need to have them installed beforehand. So it's not that Power BI has these pre-installed. You have to actually download kind of each of these tools. So you need to download Tabular Editor on your own. So maybe that could be an issue. Yep, awesome, awesome, awesome. So hopefully we answered a lot there. If you have any additional questions, just let me know. Just continue to drop them in the chat. But for right now, we're going to kind of look at just all these different patterns that we had. I kind of noticed that just bloating my models, making kind of UX experience just a lot to deal with here, just in terms of where do I go to navigate, just year to date, just this common pattern. So I'm going to Control Z to remove all these now. These. Yeah, you're welcome. Here at the very top, calculation groups. You can navigate to your calendars table just to see if the date is currently hidden, which it is. So I just want to do a make visible. I can alternate click here, or I can click on the hidden property and just set it to false. So it's now visible. And then from here, I want to go ahead and create a calculation group. So let's go ahead and right click on tables. We'll do a new, create new calculation group. If you're a keyboard fan, Alt+7 for the shortcut. So we're creating a new calculation group here. It's not name sensitive, so call it whatever you want. I'm going to call mine Time Intelligence. I'm going to change my name down here. I'm going to call this my time calculation. And now I'm going to start adding some items. So in my calculation items, I want to add 3 new items. So I'm going to do 1, do 2, I'm going to do 3. Cool. New calculation here now. So I'm not going to do advanced scripting anymore. I'm just doing pure DAX and no C#. The first one, I'm going to go and just type in a calculate. I can see the syntax highlighting just once again. No IntelliSense for right now today. But that is something, like I said, he's working towards just in a major release. Let's do selected measure. Open parenthesis, close parenthesis. So there's no arguments. Not really a function that I'm used to writing. I've never really seen it before, but let's do a comma here then. We'll try and dissect and see what this is all about. And I'll do a dates MTD. Just a single quote here from my calendar table, my date column, close parenthesis, close parenthesis. Awesome. And the best code is always the kind that you can copy and paste. So I'm just going to select all this, control, go down here to new calculation, paste, change M to a Q. I go to my new calculation 2 here at the very bottom and change M to a Y. So I now have a month to date, quarter to date, and year to date. And let's update the names. So instead of a new calculation here, I can just click on this once. It'll highlight this for me, month to date. F2 if you're a keyboard fan, it'll get us into the edits, QDD, or kind of the last one here, new calculation 2, if you just want to use the property pane in the far right to year to date. Awesome. So I've got 3 different measures, calculation items here now, month to date, quarter to date, year to date. I'm going to select all 3 holding shift. And I'm just going to update it here with this format string expression. Bottom right, update this property, paste this in, press enter. Bulk editing. So I see month to date was edited or updated. I see quarter to date was updated. And then I also see year to date. So it's not all about scripting here within Tabular Editor. In this example, it was actually easier for me to just put my hands on the keyboard, do a couple point and clicks, and I'm now done. So I want you to understand, just find that healthy balance. Maybe it's just a simple right click. Maybe it's more advanced, something I want to script out for kind of long-term use. And then especially thinking about our scripting, you can go ahead and save these as custom actions. So if you have something that you're doing just over and over again within your models, just save those. That way they're a point and click away. But in this example, we're good. We're going to save this change back to our model. I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. Control S. You can see Power BI Desktop now tells us 1 or more of the calculation groups need to be manually refreshed. Press refresh now. I see my time intelligence table with that time calculation for my calculation group. Got my full page here. I'm going to drop in that calendar dates. We'll just get kind of a nice matrix here. We also going to have year kind of at the top level. And we'll do month kind of the next. Let's do a little bit of drilling. So we've got our months. And then let's use this total unit price just within my sales order lines table. If I drop that in my table, awesome. I can see unit price here for each month. And if I drop in the time calculation, wow, awesome. So month to date, quarter to date, and year to date, all being applied. If I wanted to as well, I could have this just as a slicer. Maybe I only want to see month to date or quarter to date. You have that flexibility here within the calculation groups. Something I remembered though, that selected measure. I didn't tell it to go find me the month to date for total unit price or the quarter to date for unit price. It just inherited that. So if I delete this now, maybe drop in, let's do average of quantity. Average of quantity, kind of month to date, quarter to date, year to date. It's just that flexibility now where if you have kind of a common consistent pattern in your models, just go ahead and use the calculation group. Just clean up all of those measures that are on the right-hand side, making it a lot easier just for your end users here, just now with calculation groups. Awesome. So with that, let me jump back over to the page. Where do you go from here? So you've seen kind of some of the power here within the scripting, just being able to instantly deploy tons of measures all in one click. Maybe it's copying and pasting someone else's code. If you submit something out there, it would be an honor for me to go out there and one day copy and paste your code. You know, I'll just tell you right now, I would love it. But if there was a section that caught your eye, Tabular Editor playlist, the creator Daniel, he did do a series with Power BI.tips. All these are available. I would say kind of in total, maybe 4.5 hours, but just pick the section that made the most kind of sense to you. Maybe you're like, I really want to learn more about the best practice analyzer. An hour and 5 minutes of your time. Maybe it was the automation of scripting, just 1 hour and 9 minutes. Just go out there, just watch the video, just absorb that knowledge as you've kind of seen today, just through the walkthrough. It's not that difficult to get started. The community is obviously the best part of all of our journeys here with Power BI. So go out here, submit some scripts, copy and paste some scripts, whatever it may be. Just knowing that you don't have to do it manually in the Power BI desktop anymore. Just use automation, use kind of this rapid development. And then calculation groups, just a great series put together by SQL BI. If that's an area where you're like, I think this could really change a lot of our models, just leveraging these same patterns with calculation groups, go out there, just dig in, kind of learn a little bit more. Then I'm going to kind of scroll back up to the top of the page and make this call out here. At each section, there's a guided video. So I'll kind of click back into this. All of this is just pre-recorded content that's for you. The exact same point and clicks that we did today, zoomed in, great audio, whatever it may be. Everything that we did today, you can just come out here and watch. So if there was a section that was maybe too fast, you forgot to ask a question, go out there, check it out. If maybe you have a peer that wasn't able to make it today for the session, just send them the link. Say, hey, check this out. Maybe it's 45 minutes, maybe it's an hour of your time to kind of watch or go top to bottom on the page. But I think that this really transformed just the way that we're kind of doing Power BI within our organization. Cool. So with that, I will go ahead and pause. Any additional questions, thoughts? Just hopefully your mind is racing now just with the possibilities.
Yeah, definitely. It's. I mean, personally speaking, it's been incredible to see what we can do with Tabular Editor for Power BI, especially just making measures with the click of a button and not spending minutes and hours waiting on working on it, because that's something that pretty much drove me up the wall before.
That's why I felt bad. One of user group guys from our session, he was telling me, he's like, oh man, I had to go through the other night and delete 150 measures. He's like, you couldn't believe how long it took me. And I was like, well, if you just did it in Tabular Editor, you'd be done in a second. Poor guy.
Yeah. Well, no, but it's amazing. It's amazing what the tool can do. So obviously, thank you, Alex, for spending the time, for giving us this presentation, for putting the time into making Tabular Editor in an hour, because it's really, really useful to just hand it over to people to start learning things as well. Yeah. And obviously, also thank you to Daniel for putting the time into this. Yeah. I also see that there's one more question, so you also may want to take this one.
Force quit measures updating / calculating. Is that something in regards to the engine, or what are you thinking there, Manuel? I need a little bit more context. I'm not sure if you're like thinking
I'm thinking that he's working in a Power BI file and he's updating inside of Power BI and then using Tabular Editor to interrupt the process and making force quit like that. I'm thinking that's the context. But if I'm wrong, please do. Yeah.
They're calculating the background of the file. Maybe you understand a little bit more. I'm still not there.
So when you're inside of Power BI, making alterations, editing a DAX measure, and then clicking enter or doing whatever the little button is on the side, and then because it's taking too long to update, using Tabular Editor to force quit it. But I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, I'm not aware either.
No.
Yeah, Manuel, the enhanced metadata format is coming to report servers. So, I mean, that'll be nice for you to hear. I don't know about external tools integration just yet, so maybe something to kind of keep an eye out on.
Yeah.
But I would. Can you use scripting when you have direct query? Yeah, of course, Simon. It's all about the TOM. So it's all about the tabular object model. So, I mean, it's the same underlying structure. So hopefully that gets you excited then if you're doing a lot of direct query. And then for those who did enjoy this session, just out here on this repo, I've kind of taken over just Microsoft/PBI workshops. So I've got Tabular Editor an hour right now. I'm championing just because I think it's an incredible tool. ALM Toolkit in an hour. I've kind of built. I want to come back and maybe revisit with some thoughts from the community. And then DAX Studio in an hour as well. So it's just post dashboard in a day. You know, people are kind of done a lot of the content, but they fall off the cliff at some point. And they're like, oh gosh, I really have to dig into these things now. I'm hoping to just make kind of these 1 hour series where it's like, all right, I've seen enough. I know it's out there, and now I'll kind of dig in, kind of within these continue your journey sections. But hopefully if you enjoyed it, let me know. I'm just going to continue to build more and more of these kind of in the future though.